Hey everybody, it's Mike from Catalyst, and I'm here today to talk to you about values in action. There's a lot of words on paper out there. People say a lot of things about what their values are, what they believe, what they stand on. But when it comes time to act, sometimes they're MIA, they're missing in action. And so I want to talk about values today. We've been talking about it quite a bit this week, and I'm defining values as an outward demonstration of your inner belief system. I'll say it again, an outward demonstration of your inner belief system. Values as just words only are pretty empty. They don't really mean very much. What do you do when your values are violated, or how do you even express your values? How do you share them with others? How do you somehow create a culture where your values come to life? Roy Disney, he's Walt's older brother, by the way. He said that decisions are easy when you know what your values are. And so there have been many questions. What do we say? What do we do? What do we write? What are your values? Because sometimes the answers are right there in plain sight. Maybe a better question is, are we living those values? All right. So living your values. There's about 6 things I wanna share with you about values, and if you're really living them out, you really need to consider these things. Number one, values are not situationally dependent. Right? Values should transcend situation. Right? Now, sometimes, yeah, maybe your values will change, but whatever that thing is tends to be pretty stable, right? It's a belief system. And so the situation should not alter your values. Now, if there's tension between the situation and your values, well, that means you got some decisions to make. And sometimes we will dishonor our value in order to feel more comfortable, right? In order to make the decision that we have to make that violates that value. But values tend to be bigger than situations. The second thing is values. If you're living by your values, well, I guess it depends on what they are. I'm assuming some certain things here, but if you're living by your values, it's going to cost you something at some point. One day you're going to have to take a stand that will cost you something. Are you willing to do that, or do you make that adjustment, what we call sometimes justifying decisions? Somehow rationalizing a decision so that it feels a little better, although it violates our value? Or do you stand up and whatever it costs, it costs? Third thing is values will sever relationships at some point. At some point, you're going to run into somebody, or you're going to have somebody in your life, and you thought the relationship was good, you thought you were maybe in agreement, and then you discover you're not. What do you do? Or you're at a workplace and you realize that organization's values are inconsistent with your own. Or you're the leader at that place and you realize you have a worker whose values are inconsistent with those of the organization. What do you do? Relationships are going to have to sever at some point. The fourth thing is that values will stand the test of time. So when you look back, if you've been consistent and living by those values, oftentimes you'll be able to sleep at night. Right? So if you ever had those sleepless nights and you did something and you wondered, man, I don't know, and you look back on it and with maybe regret or guilt, maybe you were living in a way that was inconsistent with the values that you say you hold. Number 5, values bring clarity, not confusion. Values should guide decision making. They should help you when you're trying to ask yourself questions like people have been asking here in the last month or so. What do we say? What do we do? Well, what are our values? They should guide us. And if you don't have a value system around a certain thing, and that thing emerges, well, what do? You look back to the values that you do hold, and what would be consistent with the values that you hold, right? So if you believe in things like for employment, like equality and the best person for the job and all that, do your practices follow suit? And if they don't, well, what do you do? Or if you see something, do you say anything? What do you do? Number 6, values will build a stable and resilient foundation for your organization over time. If you're consistently bringing in people and their value system line up with yours, and that's not total agreement, but there's some basic core things that you're about, some basic core things that your organization is about, whether they're spoken or not. The people you bring in, do those line up with what you say you believe and what you say you're about? Because if they do, your organization will be in a better position to weather storms like COVID, like racial, social unrest, like economic downturns. And your organization will most likely ride that out and thrive in the good times. So, value shape culture. What culture is taking hold in your organization? If you want to learn what your people experience and what they perceive every day, we built a brief but powerful tool that'll help you see that very quickly. The state of your culture. Click the link below and try it for yourself. Other than that, thanks everyone. Appreciate y'all. I'm Dr. Mike. See you next time.